Hey, welcome to another episode about the G.A.C. South preview. So today we have Nick Beckmann from Howell Central. So get to talk a lot about Howell Central, Spartan baseball. Those that don't know, last year Howell Central took second in the G.A.C. 7-3. Some people, me, would go with he should have been coach of the year. No offense to anyone else, but I think most people had you picked a little bit further down. And what you did with young talent and your team last year, to me, was everyone I've talked to is like, oh, he did a great job. I'm like, well, you should have voted for him then. Give him the awards. Not that it means anything, but that's okay. You play for the awards, right?
Yeah. I hang them in my room.
You do?
Yeah.
Still got the trophies?
All of them.
Middle school?
No. Middle school, I stopped at middle school.
Really?
Yeah, I started at high school level.
But that's good. That's good. You have to have standards. Like, I'm only going to keep the high school trophies. So that's always one of the high school trophies. You did get a Final Four appearance in high school, though.
Yeah. In 2000.
Back when Howell Central opened in 97, 98.
First year was 98. 97, 98 was the first year we were sophomores.
So spring of 98, and then 2 years later, you guys are in the Final Four.
Correct.
So
Class 3.
But you're in the Final Four for what you had.
For sure.
So.
It was a ride. It was
I know.
fun. Yeah.
I was coaching there in 99. Yeah. So I'm getting old.
My workout partner, my senior year.
Long ago. I started lifting again, though, so I feel better. Not that anyone cares about that.
Can't tell.
Thanks. I'm down 35 pounds. Thank you for noticing. You're like, wow, that guy looks skinnier. You can't tell, but I am. That's okay. We're going to talk about baseball now, so stay on track. Sometimes I get distracted with snow cones and stuff. But you guys had a great year last year. You competed. I mean, you look at the conference. Our conference is tough. For you guys to go 7-3, obviously you did well. And then 19-16, 1 overall. You tied?
Yeah. Seckman, early season tournament. I don't know if it was the G.A.C. Or the Troy tournament or the Midwest Classic, but it got dark. It was in the 9th inning, and it was like, does Seckman want to come back and finish it? And it was like, no, just tie it. Yeah,
Seckman's good.
They were. It was a good game. It was a really good game. It was one of those like late in the tournament games too, where guys were throwing, just to get innings, and it was cold, but it was a well played game across the board.
So it got too dark. Now, there's rumors that you're going to have lights.
We won't have that problem this year.
Why not?
We have a whole new complex coming with lights and full turf field. It's under construction. So we're looking at moving into the night game realm for high school baseball. Get out of that 4:15, leave school, get a quick snack, get 5 swings in, play a game, So we're looking at kicking it back an hour or so to give it a proper feel. Try to get more people there.
Yeah.
Everybody likes playing those night games too, and so we just got to get every administrator on board. I don't think they like doing supervision at night sometimes, but it is a cool experience. And I remember coaching when I was at Howell, the CNH games.
Yeah.
We play 6 o'clock games and night baseball. People are there. Kids, parents are allowed to get off work. They don't have to rush everywhere. I know my kids get off the bus at 4. And
it's
by
hard.
the time, they don't come to any of the games, so it's you're talking about kids in the community, things like that. Everybody will come up, for a Friday night game or something like that. So we're looking forward to it. The field's moving along. You go out there, it's a big construction zone right now, but
so it's full turf, infield, outfield.
Full turf, infield, outfield. Lights, batting cages. Just a full upgrade for the baseball and softball programs.
You used to keeping the home field on the first base side?
Oh, yeah.
I know there's more room there.
There's more room. You jump right down to the cages. I like I'm a big locker room guy. Our locker rooms, we just come straight down. You don't have to cross over through parents. The downfall is sometimes you like when you're coaching third, being close to the dugout. Yeah. Then again, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to get away and let the assistant coaches kind of handle that dugout. And so But overall, yeah, we're looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the practice time. We're not going to lose practices. In spring ball, what a lot of people don't realize is you'll get a game rained out. Well, if you get a game rained out, that means you're not going outside for practice, and then they're rescheduling those on the practice days. You don't get a lot of practice time.
Correct.
And so now with the turf and even lights, if it's raining at 4 o'clock, we're pushing practice back to 6. We can get out there, and so the practice time is really what a coach is going to look forward to.
So when do you know timeline when that's supposed to be done? With construction, you don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's all weather dependent. Like, the snow, I think, pushed them back, but they're moving along a lot faster than I thought they would be. It's supposed to be done mid-February. So
some of the open field, I know if you're going to be able to utilize it for that, but
no. But then again, we weren't able to use the open field, situation on our field because they lay sod. They were laying sod
that's right.
because it's a softball baseball field, so they lay sod in November. We have to wait, and by February it's not taken completely. So it's not like we were always on the football field. Anyways, on that turf. So if it's done in time, we can get out there for the open fields for those 3 hours a week. And I told the boys, it just depends. It's a weird year, and it just depends on where we're at in the field before we can do it. But if we have a field, we're going to be out there as soon as we can.
No, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because, I think you're right. Going back to C&H, when we actually coached, those don't know, we coached together at for Tony for 2-3 years. 2 years. Yeah. 2010, 11. So
by the way, I saw you with Nate Orff, and Nate's such a good dude. I know
he
him
is
through training at the barn. And I heard you say that 2008 squad was but that, man, you got to show love to that 2011 squad. That might be the best high school baseball team around.
It's tough to argue that 11 group had 5 guys that played at Mizzou.
Yeah.
They were special. The 8 group was just a different group.
Yeah, hey, I'll take your word for it, but I'll throw my guys on that 11 squad against any team, anytime.
I love the 11 group as well. I mean, two of the players I'm closest to still to this day, Nate Orr from 08 and then Brett Graves from 11. And those two, I mean, they're our 2 big leaguers. Yeah. So it's tough to, obviously, that's probably why those 2 groups were really good when you have big league guys on the team.
Yeah. Kind of helps when you have a lot of talent, right? Made coaching pretty easy. But I felt like we were pretty good coaches by telling those really athletic kids to go do stuff, and they could do it.
Hey, you catch the ball and throw it. Okay, coach. Hey, just hit over the fence.
Yeah, so, exactly.
But those were some great groups. Now, speaking of your group, I don't think this is 2011 Francis Howell talent.
No.
But you do have some pieces here that over the years I've seen develop, and they're getting better. I mean, Ethan Callison has been –
he's been a thorn in some people's sides.
I've hated playing and no offense either. Man, you're awesome. I mean, you're a tremendous player, but every time you came up, I'm like, son of a, he's up again. He's that kid that when he comes up, I'm like, I swear we just tried to get him out last inning. So
his speed plays. He learned how to run the bases. He's already the school leader in stolen bases, both season and career. He steals. It's not just being fast. When he was a sophomore, it was literally he was just fast, and he was kind of lost on the base pass. But last year he really made an improvement on how to read pitchers and how to get jumps and things like that. And he was gone in the first 3 pitches, and you could tell, when he got on base, pitchers really thought about it, and it had an effect on the at bats. He can bunt, so the third baseman's playing 2 steps in, but he's also a pretty heavy pull guy too. And so, that opened up a lot of holes. He can fly in the outfield, and he's a pretty good leader. He's a quiet kid. He leads by example. He's at every workout we have, every speed and agility thing we do. He's there. Doesn't miss practice. He's early to practice. All just the things you want out of a leader. And now his senior year, it feels like yesterday he was a little baby. And his senior year, he's walking around. He's putting on some weight, and so I'm excited about his senior year.
I don't know. Is he looking to play in college?
Yeah, and so he's going to go JUCO right now, but I think his options are kind of open. He hasn't fully signed off on anything, but
he should have options. Man.
Yeah,
he will play.
Right now I think Ethan's a kid that when you look at him, you're like, but when you watch him play, he can fly. He doesn't really pass the eye test because he's a smaller kid. But he has juice. The ball
his
does
bat
jump.
speed's special.
Yeah, correct. And so he'll be at the top of our order. And he sets the table, but I think it's like he's our fastest kid, but we got some other. We're going to be a really quick team, and probably more athletic team than we've had in the past.
And that's why I mean, seeing the growth that you guys took from 2 years ago to last year, you took a jump, and you had some young guys, and starting to see them get bigger and stronger.
Well, yeah, and so I think. We have some late bloomers that are filling out right now, like seniors who are filling out that might surprise some people. But we'll have probably 3 guys in the outfield that are all sub-7s with Ethan. Coop DeManuel will find himself. He was hurt last year. And, he's a 6'2", 210-pound kid that's a 6'6".
Yeah.
And I just saw yesterday – it's 98 off the bat. And so when his bat to ball skills finally get polished, he's going to be a guy. It's just figuring out where he's going to be. If he plays in the outfield, we return 2 guys with Chase Radicke, a sophomore, who's also, he's a grinder. Him and his twin brother kind of opened everybody's eyes last year because they're as freshmen, you're just like, man, those kids, they just compete. They're just dogs. They hate losing. We had to work on maturity, like when things go wrong, body language, that type of thing. But those 2, and then with Coop out there, there's a lot of guys who can run, and the depth out there is going to be significant because we got 3 other guys that are looking for spots out there too. So it's nothing's for sure. Right now, I'd say Ethan's locked in at center field because he's a first team all conference guy. The other 2 spots, you kind of go in looking, okay, this is what I got, but there's other guys who are going to want to compete for that.
And that's a nice. We've talked about the opportunities some kids take advantage of. And last year you threw 2 freshmen in there.
And the one, so Carter benefited. Carter's, he plays infield. He was our second baseman. He benefited because we had an open spot early. Like, just looking around, And in all honesty, Chase was on JV to begin the year. And probably the second weekend, we had some kids. One kid was on a college visit. Another kid was injured. And I brought him up. I'm like, hey, it's a Saturday game. Come on up. And it was about probably 4 innings in. I turned to my assistant. I go, I don't think he's going back down.
Yeah.
And he just took advantage of a situation that, he comes up and he's like basically saying, I don't want to go back down. And those 2 are just grinders, the twins. They're really high-level soccer players. And I watch them play soccer in the fall, and they compete there. Those are kids that they just love to play. They love to win, and they love to compete.
So Chase is the infielder, right?
No, Chase the outfield. Carter's the infield.
Chase is chasing the ball in the outfield.
Yes, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, Carter will probably slide over to short. That's where he plays summer
I was going to ask. Yeah.
We lost Tuck, who was really good defensively for us. And so Carter will probably slide over to short. And that's playing second versus playing short is probably the biggest jump you'll have on the infield. So I'm excited to see how he does there. He's got good hands, good feet. He's really quick too. So he should be able to make that jump.
And that's athletes find a way.
Correct.
That's just, we've seen it for years. If you're athletic, typically you're going to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
So you got those 2 coming back. You have Ethan coming back. Who else? Do you have others on the infield returning?
We have returners. Noah Gunnar he started 3rd in a district title game. Or not district title, district game. I wish we made it to the title game. We got to score a run in districts first.
Oh, we only scored 1.
So. Yeah, but that was enough. You can score 1 and win. You can't score 0 and win. And we've been shut out twice the past 2 years. And both the pitchers were just on. And we had chances, but we got to score. But he right now he's looking at 3rd. Drew Weiss will find himself somewhere. Drew is just a hitter. He's hitting all fields, figuring out where he's going to go. We have some seniors, Ethan LaFleur, who's starting to fill out. He's one of those late bloomers. He's 6'6".
Big kid.
Oh, yeah, he's a big kid, but he was, now it's just putting on weight and filling out and figuring out your body. Tanner Delcourt is a left-handed hitter. He's looking for time. We have, and somehow we were a young team last year, and I think we're just younger this year because our sophomore class is going to come up, and I got a lot of sophomores that are going to be looking to take spots. We had a lot of kids playing JV. Some are going to play JV again. Some are going to try to push their way up. And like you know, it's just what spots are available. We graduated a catcher. Owen Meyer is a senior. He's going to try and come in and do what Gabe did last year, and just do that senior season catcher and just grind it out. He's a really smart kid. Hard worker, you know, he's good defensively. We got a couple sophomores that are going to try to push. It's just, you know, are they physically able to do that?
Yeah.
And so, you know, there's a lot of spots available, and I'm a big competition guy. So
yeah. And you should. I mean, that's that. You can have ideas going to this season.
Absolutely, you can't write them in ink though.
But you got to get them on the field and see side by side, because some of those freshmen that are now sophomores, they can take big jumps, or someone that was hurt last year now comes back,
or they get passed up by somebody else. You know, growth is a huge thing. You see some of these freshmen that are, you know, quote unquote studs, that they're studs because they're a little bit bigger earlier, and then the other kids starting to grow. And you know, I saw one sophomore I have, Colin Moore, who, I mean, he was a freshman JV kid. It looked like a completely different person. He's put on probably 4 inches in height. And it's like, good Lord. I mean, like a weed. So, I mean, you never know. We started two freshmen last year in Saturday games. And you know, they competed, and Lucas Williams came. He's a left-handed pitcher, and we picked up a game. Coach Hill from the East called me on a Friday night, said, "Hey, we had somebody drop for our teacher appreciation game on Monday. Can you play?" It's right before district, so you know, you're not throwing your top arms. It's like, yeah, we'll play. You know, we had a game, we'll play anybody, anytime. And I was like, you know, threw Sammy Mueller for 2 innings because he could have been a reliever in districts, and then it was like Lucas just, I mean, he shoved. And so it's those types of things. Like if he comes out, he could be a guy for us. Sammy Mueller is a senior, and he's putting on weight, and so the strength's going to be there. You know, he was a Saturday guy, left-handed pitcher.
I see he started 8 games last year.
Yeah,
so he's got plenty of experience.
You know how good Zumwalt South was, right?
Yes,
I mean, we beat them 1-0 in game 1, and you know, he threw 6 innings of that.
They were a good team.
What's that?
They were a good.
They were, I mean, really good. Senior heavy, and he had them off balance the entire. I mean, the amount of just flyouts and you know, not even like missiles to the wall. It was like the lazy on front foot, flick flyouts. You know, he kept the kids off balance, and that's, you know, kind of his game. You know, we returned Thomas Masterson, who was our number 2 for his senior year, and you know, Ethan can go off the mound. You know, Noah's probably our best arm.
Yeah.
Physically, you know, he'll run it up in the high 8s, and you've messaged me like, man, that kid's got it, and he's got good off. It's just putting it all together. And man, that senior year. That's sometimes where it finally just clicks. The maturity clicks in.
The confidence.
Correct.
I've been here before. It's not over at the game.
Varsity.
I mean, the game we talk about, the game slows down a little bit. You're not trying to prove it. You're like, I can do this. And that's, for some kids, man, that senior year, there's such a jump. It's like, where's this been? They've always had it. Yeah. They got to believe it.
You know, I sat the twins down early on in the year, and I said, you know, so we've been here for a few games. What's the biggest difference? And Carter immediately looked at me and goes, how fast everything is.
Yeah.
And they were able to catch up, but people don't realize JV to varsity, like the people who are like, well, I hit this on JV, and all of a sudden you're facing varsity arms or defensively and things like that, how fast everything goes, night and day.
It's a different, I'm curious, you're talking about you're big on competition. I know every coach does tryouts differently. How do you have all of them together for tryouts? I know some teams are like, hey, I think you're going to be varsity. You're on this field. Do you look at them all?
So, you know who's coming in. Like, you know, I have a couple freshmen coming in that could possibly compete for a JV or even varsity spot.
Yeah.
There's a couple freshmen that play high level baseball that are good athletes. You see them in camps, you know, so I think everything's different depending on who the kid is. But we go sophomores through seniors together, and then you kind of separate them off of that. But like, especially this year, our sophomore class is so heavy that we'll run them together, maybe for as long as possible. And it's always weather dependent. Having a turf field, there ain't going to be any rainouts, right? And so what we'll do is we're going to run just a normal practice, and then we'll run inter squads, because game competitions where you see the most.
You start to see it.
You can hit BP and be a 5 o'clock hitter, but then all of a sudden when they start throwing balls that move a little bit, can you hit that? So or ball in the dirt, and you have the deer in the headlight where the other kid's standing on second because you can read the game a little bit better. Those things show up in inter squad games that don't show up necessarily in like a confined practice.
So some of the other pitchers, I mean, Masterson, you talked about, Mueller. Right. English, I saw through four.
So, yeah, Cannon was a reliever for us. He's a junior this year. Big kid. You see him in the hallway. He looks like he's been getting in shape. He's a good pitcher. Like, he throws 3 pitches for strikes. Throws, he'll be low 80s. And he's a kid that's going to probably earn some innings for us. He was on varsity for us for a little bit, and then he got injured. Broke his ankle, and then by the time he came back, we put him back down on JV just to get him innings. It was towards the end of the season, so he's going to fill it out. Lucas Williams going to fill it out. Mason Bogard pitched for us one time as a freshman in a Saturday game. Throws strikes. He competes really well for the JV team, but there's a possibility we'll have 2 or 3 sophomores up. Our seniors, it's just really, where can we get the most amount of innings? Caleb Hall is a guy that is a good arm. He pitched an inning or 2 in relief, and then pitched a lot for JV last year. So we have quite a few options. It's just honestly kind of like last year. If we throw strikes, throw multiple pitches for strikes, we're not going to have anybody that's going to come out, the 92s that everybody's talking about. But you don't need that. If you throw multiple pitch, Ben Henthorn's a perfect example. He was a left-handed 5'9" kid, and he'd go over your 4 to 5 innings, mix up pitches, get outs, and then as long as you don't walk anybody and you don't make any errors, high school hitters will, for the most part, will get themselves out.
And I talked about it with the other coaches. I think last year it was hitters were exposed. The pitchers are at P3, they're at ACE, developing their secondary pitches. Hitters at the high school level have always been taught, don't swing curveball, don't swing off speed. So you get guys that now can go up there and just spin curveball.
The fastball is the surprise, right?
It's unbelievable the amount of off speed I saw last year across the board. Even guys that had 90-mile-per-hour fastballs. I mean, Dylan Curtis, it was his off speed that was.
Yeah, when he faced us, he made us. I mean, that was a quick. He wasn't under any stress. He was, hammering the outside, and then that little slider he was throwing. That's tough to hit. I don't care what level you are.
But the off-speed stuff, the team, Troy, I think, typically their pitchers will pound you with off-speed, and hitters have got to start adjusting.
And you see it a lot. And I think that's a different mindset between summer ball and high school ball. In summer ball, it's like you're going to get a fastball because these guys are coming out there. You don't know who you're facing. You don't know anything. It's just like sit dead red, and you're going to get one fastball. But in high school, especially in our conference, you'll know, like, you have reports on everybody. You might not see your fastball if you're a fastball hitter.
Nolan Sissom's not seeing fastballs very often this next year.
Well, he didn't see
or last year.
For us,
his freshman year, I don't even think we really pitched to him.
Well, we faced him the first game, and anytime there's a base open, it was like, boom, see, I'm not even going to deal with you. And there was a runner on first and like a 2-0 or 1-0 count, and the ball in the dirt, they advanced, and I was like, well, that makes this okay, go. It's a respect thing for him, and he's probably the best bat to ball. And I saw it as a freshman, facing Rubel, who, Rubel's a big, strong kid with a dirty off speed, and he had him 0-2, and Rubel's throwing him his little slide curve, like a little slurve that he throws. And and he's just flicking it foul ball, and it's like, and then he takes a fastball and takes it to left. It's like, and I turned to Aaron Pearson, and I said, that's a legit hitter. Yeah. As a freshman too. That's legit. So yeah, I mean, we're not going to mess around with him.
And I, unfortunately for everyone else, he's hitting with Orff right now.
Yeah.
And I've been able to see him and Pyle and some of these other guys hitting. I'm like, I'm glad I ain't coaching against you guys anymore, because those guys are.
Yeah. No, he is Nolan's a really he's a complete hitter.
He's one of the more special hitters I've seen come through the conference, just as a pure hitter.
Yeah.
He's although he's going to get walked a lot. So
Well, I mean, they have Pyle now. If Pyle goes behind him, it's tough to
he can
kind
swing
of
it.
walk him. Yeah, and so I'm sure he's going to have a little bit. So one of them is going to be protected, one of them's not. And
Well, and then they have Deverman.
yeah,
Deverman drove us nuts. Perry,
hmm
and I mean they talked to Eric last time on their preview, and I'm like, man, they're to me better than they were last year. But I also think you guys, I think your depth and your younger guys getting older, you guys are gonna be dangerous.
I mean, we hope to be, but I mean, I think we thrive. Our program thrives on kind of that.
Chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I've really focused on like a blue collar. I always talk about blue collar mentality.
Yeah.
You walk on the field. We love playing against you all, against Zumwalt West. And it was just like let's go prove people wrong. And I've told them before. I was like, listen, you line these guys up position by position. I don't think any one of y'all start. And they get mad about that, but that's the purpose of it. Like, let them know. But one of the things that I think, and this is my 5th year now, is that I like seeing is like there's just a mindset that's now been passed down from grade to grade to grade, that it's just this is how we do things around here. And you appreciate the senior leadership, but you also appreciate the younger guys buying into that, and that mindset of like we don't change anything. Like our mindset is you go out, you do your job, you get your job done, you protect each other, you work for each other, and for that 14 weeks, you are a family. You're there 6 days, 6 days together,
Yes.
and a lot of times that's a lot of the days. It's a long day, and so you're gonna have your arguments and things like that with each other. But like I really like where our program's at with that mentality. We're big on our culture. And
Yeah.
I ask the kids, what do you want their culture to be? And they're always the same. And it's just that mindset of you go out, you do your job. I don't care what it is. And we talk about it. You do your job in the classroom. You do your job in the hallway. You do your job as a boyfriend, as a son, as a brother. And then everywhere you look, it's just like this is your mentality, and the kids have bought into that for sure.
Well, I think you can always tell when a coach has a good sense of who they are, their identity. It shows with their team. Like that's always how you were as a player. Like
Yeah,
you
because
were
I wasn't good.
hard-nosed. It's not that you had the tools, but you were undersized, and it took time to get there. And I think that's always the thing. Looking at a coach and what type of player they were, and then as a coach, how they approach the game is pretty clear across the board. Like I see Eric Goff's teams at West. Like that's how he was. I played with him growing up. Like he was that. I'm going to find every advantage. I'm going to try to expose the things. He's intellectual and he does a great job building culture and getting them to buy into it. And I think at Central, in the last 5 years, it's clear this is Beckmann's style of baseball. Get the most out of what you got. Take it personally.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah. And it works when you have the right guys. And I think our guys have bought in, and it takes a whole unit because if you just have a couple guys bought in, you get your guys who are kind of off the edge. But I remember, last year we had some young guys, and one of the young guys was kind of walking around like, I'm here, and,
Yes.
and we brought some of the older guys in with them because they came to me and they said, we don't like the way he's acting. And we sat down, and the three seniors and this kid and me sat in the locker room, and I just said, say what you want to say. And they're like, we don't like the way you're acting, and you haven't earned anything. And the thing that I took away from this is the kid didn't know. Like he didn't know that's
No.
how he was acting or how he's presented. And the older kids were basically like, you have to earn the right to be like this. And I'll tell you what, the next few days at practice, he was the first to go get stuff and basically earning his way. And it's a lot different. If I come in and I say that to you, I'm just a coach. But when the older
Yeah.
guys say that, it's like, okay, I'm not going to mess around with that because if they're all of them are saying this, it's obviously that's the problem.
And that's why the culture that you can create, it should be that the seniors are leading it shouldn't have to come from the coach.
Correct.
You've instilled the philosophy, the program culture, and then the seniors pass it on to the juniors, and it just keeps getting passed down. I mean, over the years, you've seen that in programs where this is who we are. And I think Troy is turning on, like I've seen that with Rogers, where they have a very specific type of way they approach games, and they have been very. I mean, they were one bunt away from beating us in the district championship, and you talk about, and nothing against Troy's team last year, but if you lined our 9 stars up and their 9 starters.
Yeah, it's night and day.
It's just, I mean, it's a compliment to those kids that they play, because
Yeah,
talent-wise,
a lot of times the kids take that as a shot, and it's like,
no.
hey, listen, this isn't this is a compliment to you, because what we're saying is that this should not be this close, but it's because you guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're doing things the right way, and I love like Justin and I go way back. We used to coach together in summer ball. And we coached a team that ended up together that had like Stormy Cooper, CJ, Matt Veerling, Plasmeyer on that team. So we had
team.
Oh my! It was the most. I mean,
that's elite.
Yes, when you have 2 major leaguers on one team and like 9 or 10 Division I's. So we had. I mean, we got to coach the top level kids, and so. I've known him for a long time. One of the things I love about him is he changed that, and it's like that Troy boys thing. He talks about it all the time. And going out to Troy is a tough thing, but Troy boy, like, that's a different element, because he found what makes them and something that they can own, and they own it, and they go out there and they have an attitude about them too. They have a little swagger. It's a different swagger, but they have a swagger.
They're not going to back down.
No, and you can't. When you go out and you play the Francis Howells, the Zumwalt West, in the past 5-10 years, and Howell has been around forever. They automatically go out there with we're Howell, we're Zumwalt West, so you got to go out there and say we're not going to be pushed around. And we split with Zumwalt West the past 2 years, and. In talent-wise, I think that they probably have been last year. The 2 years ago, they're definitely more talented.
Yeah.
Last year, hit and miss, but there were 2 close games, and we just go out and compete. And then, like when we played you all last year in that first game, we snuck one out. Everybody knows we snuck one out, but it's the fact that we didn't die and we didn't lay down, and that was probably a big program win, because it told our boys, like, hey, you can do this. Like, you can compete. Just compete nonstop. So, I would rather coach those types of kids than the all-star lineup, because the all-star lineup, man, it's just really trying to keep egos in check. And if you lose, you're not supposed to lose.
No. And
if you win, well, you were supposed to win. So, and that's a tough job. So I love coaching the scrappy kids.
Coaching's difficult. It's just trying to figure out, if you're coaching talent, there's expectations you have to do. If you're coaching hard-nosed, but either way, you have to coach them in a way to get the most out of what you've been given.
And to be fair, like, it is all relationship building. And I live by this. If they love you, they will never leave you hanging. And if you can build that love and trust, these boys will run through a wall for you. And I've seen it. Like, it's these kids. If you show them that you got their back, they will have your back all the time.
That's part of being in the building that I think is it's needed.
Yeah.
Like me and Eric have talked about the golf, that's like getting to know those kids, and he does the Monday morning meetings where he's spending time with the whole program. He sees those kids every day in school. He connects with them outside of baseball. They're just not. I talked to him on Baseball 101. We were talking about the group from 2021 that was a little rambunctious. And he openly said it, but it was one of those, he knew the hearts of those kids. They were good kids, and it was difficult for him to.
I think he had a lot of football guys.
They had
that mindset. They were doing like WWE moves in between innings.
I mean, let's not. We all know, we all played. They were really good.
Oh yeah,
but they were a little crazy.
Well, they were. I remember they were intimidating.
Yeah. They're screaming, running the center.
They were intimidating to play against, and it was part of the shtick that they built up, was that it may be nothing, but it feels like you're down 2-0 already.
You knew you were in for a battle, but those guys legitimately would run through the wall for him.
Oh, 100%.
And that's where the constant, the relationship building and being around them, not just on a baseball relationship standpoint, but getting to know them. I think that's one, like, obviously we still are close to people from that 2011 team.
Yeah, I just had dinner with Peel a couple weeks ago.
Like, those relationships weren't I didn't like those guys because they played baseball. I like those guys because they were great kids, and to see them go on to me
Well,
is
let me ask you this. What's your I tell people all the time, I don't even know where that ring is. That state ring. That has nothing to do with that. But I don't that
yeah.
that wasn't what is your most important memory from that year? And see if
Oh, there's no that year. It's probably the most important memory. Not I wasn't even part of it, but to know it happened for those kids, them walking into graduation as state champions, still
dude,
is talked about
so
by the.
I walked with them, and it was weird because I was a central guy walking to the Howell graduation. But at the time I had all, yes, that. But for me, the prom night where we rented out,
Oh yeah,
what was that what's it called now? The game place.
Monkey. It was like Monkey Joe's or
Yeah,
something
something
over at
like
Cave
that.
Springs.
And
The
these
go karts.
kids
Yeah.
on their prom night, they brought their dates, and at what 10 p.m.
After prom.
after prom, and running go-karts with them, and so we stayed up till 3 a.m. with them, just it's out of the baseball element, and it was just connecting with them. That I remember that more than pretty much any game
Yeah.
that year.
Those are the memories that I think as a coach, and obviously I'm stepping away now. But man, it's the off-field stuff, and those lifelong relationships that I've been able to maintain with those guys. And
When you talk about being in the building, you know, I'm notorious for teachers will come and is like, hey, so and so's getting a little rambling. What hour do you have them? Okay. And I'll walk up to the classroom, knock on the door, and say, let me talk to you in the hallway. And a lot of times, if it's like the freshman, sophomore, that their face goes bright white. I'm like, hey, you like playing baseball, right? Yeah, yeah. You want to play baseball in this program? Yeah. If I get another email from your teacher about you acting up in the class, you ain't playing baseball in this program because there's an expectation,
yeah,
and it's not anything, but it's just being in the building.
it's
You can't,
accountability,
yes, you
and
can't do that if you're not in the building, and so yeah, it was very difficult. Like all I knew when I was coaching with those Howell boys,
yeah,
but I remember Munson. I get a call from a teacher at Howell about Munson,
yeah.
and so it's like, but that's that connection, and so yeah, it's vital. If you can't just coach the game or the practice, you got to coach like from the time you see them in the morning to the time that they go home, and sometimes they'll still send you a message. Where I've met kids through years of coaching soccer and stuff, where kids are going through some stuff. It's like, hey, will you meet me and you just talk to them. And you
Just
do the
listen.
same
Yeah,
thing, man. I hear so many people talk about the impact you had on them, but that's just part of coach. You don't get into coaching just to hit fungos and tell them how to field ground balls. That's the boring stuff.
but no one told me getting into it that the most enjoyable part about coaching baseball would be being able to have those relationships, and that's, I mean, I coached you long ago, and to still coach against
Let's not
you,
go too long.
it was a long time ago.
It was,
But
man. Time flies.
those are fun, and that was, I mean, I got to coach you, got to work out with you in the weight room, getting to know you.
You
that way.
got me, and I say this all the time. Anybody asks, I was so scared to be in the weight room my senior year because I was undersized. Like you said, I weighed 150 pounds.
Late bloomer.
My senior year. You want to talk about late? Holy! I wish you could go like 3 extra years in high school, and I would have been fully sized just to see how good you would have been.
You get that 5th-year red shirt.
Fifth, I
Some
needed
people
like
going
8.
for that.
I needed, yeah. But I was scared to be in the weight room, and then you were working out because you were with the Giants at the time, or fresh out. I don't know, and you just basically said, "Here, I'll work out with you." And I remember you basically it was our goals to be able to bench plates by the end. That's how I mean, I was physically weak, but it was a lifelong thing. I went from benching that to my sophomore year in college. I was like full blown invested, and,
Yeah.
and it was only because you were the guy that was like, I got you, and no one's going to say anything to you in the weight room. But and so by just through that connection, it's that lifelong thing that like I still to this day love working out, and it's
Yeah.
because of like I saw the impact that it had, and it just took one person to say, hey, come with me, I got you. And that was pretty cool because you were a big shot around that time.
At the time, I was still a professional athlete.
Yeah, Mike
but
Matheny was coming in the weight room
Well,
too.
yeah, I mean,
that
there
was,
was-
that was pretty free. Like that was cool.
and that's the part. I think sometimes people forget the impact a coach can have. I mean, this is great. Winning games is great, all that stuff. But for these kids, if one of those kids is able to learn from you and take from you and better their lives, I mean, that's really what this is about.
100%.
The chances of kids in the G.A.C. playing professionally is pretty low. I mean, there's only a handful of kids that really have that opportunity. Even playing college baseball, it goes up. But these lessons. I mean, I think back at coaching, and obviously I'm done now, 25 years. And I think back, I don't think about the games. I don't think about wins and losses. I think about the people, whether it's people I coach with, like you, or coach, or Brett Graves, or like Peel. Like, that's the memorable part.
We see what Brett's doing at P3.
Yeah.
You see what Peel was doing at Carbondale. It's like, and then it's like you get an invitation to their wedding.
Oh,
and that's when it's like, all right, that's way more important than any state title or anything. Watching them, lead a life as a father, as a husband, or whatever they're doing, they're having success. And just to say, hey, I was a part of it. Like with Graves, man, he could have done anything he wanted.
He was going to be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Regardless of our fungo.
Yeah, but our fungo game was strong.
It was.
But
hang time.
I mean, yeah. But that was watching those guys grow up to be men. I mean, and then you see it's my 5th year, and so I'm starting to see that with this program. And you see these guys, and it's like they're coming back and they want to help out, or they're getting into teaching. I have a former player that is subbing for me now, and it's just like that's a cool thing to see them grow. And you're right. I don't count wins. Obviously we take it in the heat of the moment. We're very competitive people. But in the long run, if you're looking back and it's like, okay, I have this many wins, I need this many for my career. That's just not me. It's not my style. No. I'm not that type of person that's just going to count and look for that.
And you should. And that's, hey, coach, players, I mean, this is why, and I mean, I see it from afar, and I've seen it before, but I mean, you're going to have success at Central because you care. You care about the kids, and that's what any of the successful coaches I have seen, the ones I respect, are the ones that want to develop kids, want to develop these people into people, not just players. And that's what. So you guys at Central, appreciate what you got, because honestly, I mean, I've been around a lot of coaches. I would say there's probably 3 or 4 coaches I would want my son to play for, and I've told you this before. I'm like, you're one of them. That if my son had a chance to play for you, I've been like, you're in good hands. And I'm protective of my son and my daughter, but that's whatever. You don't need to know about that stuff. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on. I look forward to being out.
For sure.
I'll come out, practice, hang out a little bit, see what's going on over at Central.
Come check out that new field.
New facility.
New facilities.
Oh, new facilities.
Hopefully it turns out okay.
If it's turf with lights,
yeah.
You think about C&H with lights.
I wish C&H, if they would somehow someone put some money in, they turf that and they keep that old time feel.
That feel is special.
I mean, yeah,
there's something about really playing there with the smells and
pretzel and cheese too.
Old school. I loved it. Anyway, well, if you're still hanging on watching us talk about whatever we're talking about, I appreciate it. Like it, subscribe, hit all those wonderful buttons, except the thumbs down. So appreciate you watching. We'll be back again with another preview coming up soon. Thanks, guys.